the smartest film critic in the world, Cole Smithy.
Hi, this is Cole Smithy with ColeSmithy.com and your guide to what to see and what to avoid at the movies this week. Woody Allen has bottomed out. His latest attempt at interpreting yet another global mecca, this time San Francisco, through a prism of flailing romance, barely manages to elicit a couple of subdued chuckles.
What do you think?
I love it. You shouldn't spoil me so.
Well, why not? Who else am I going to spoil?
Allen's busy attempt to add more serious drama than humor onto his romantic comedy scales is a depressing affair all around. The ever-impressive Cate Blanchett plays the title character, a textbook white woman of entitlement struggling to recapture her social status after a sudden fall from affluent grace in New York City. Her adulterous con artist ex-husband, Hal, played by Alec Baldwin, gets the blame, but it takes two to tango. A nervous breakdown has turned Jasmine into a pill-popping ball of anxiety. Hers is the epic midlife crisis of a woman who has never worked a day in her life. Blanchett's thin-skinned performance is so convincing it hurts to watch. Too bad Blue Jasmine isn't worthy of her estimable efforts. An Oscar nomination may yet be in the offing. Allen's signature fragmented storyline, reference Annie Hall, switches between splintered flashbacks of Jasmine's recent past of marital restlessness in New York and her current efforts to reinvent herself with the assistance of her similarly adopted sister, Ginger, played by Sally Hawkins in San Francisco.
Because that's what you think you deserve, and that's why you'll never have a better life.
She doesn't care about you. She's a phony.
Can you please not fight in here?
Jasmine has burned Ginger many times in the past, but Ginger still respects their relationship despite Jasmine's outspoken disdain for everything about Ginger and her lifestyle. Jasmine takes on a day job as a dentist receptionist while studying basic computer skills in preparation for an online course in interior design. Judgmental as the day is long, Jasmine can't stand Ginger's blue-collar boyfriend, Chili, played by Bobby Cannavale. Forget that Jasmine was partly responsible for contributing to breaking up Ginger's former marriage by encouraging the couple to invest their recent windfall with Hal to manage the money at a promised 20% return. Windfall gone. Blue Jasmine is Woody Allen's sidelong, belated attempt to address fallout symptoms of America's economic collapse. Tonally, the movie has a sleepwalking quality to it. Characters bump into things and people, but the effect is rarely funny or even sympathetic. The financially bankrupt Jasmine can still charm a wealthy potential love interest into a marriage, but the skeletons in her closet keep popping out at the worst possible moment. The same could be said for Woody Allen. Where there was once flesh and blood in his movies, now there are merely broken pieces of murky inspiration that don't add up. Allen's once magical gift for connecting resonant story fragments now leaves sprinkled shards of visually appealing scenes that repeatedly drop off into an abyss of predictable gravity. Even Louis C.K.'s glorified cameo as Al, a potential love interest for Ginger, comes off as a disappointment. Andrew Dice Clay fares a little better as Ginger's ex-husband Augie, but even he can't help ground the movie. Bobby Cannavale's character is a bull in a china shop who steals the movie through his sheer force of masculine will.
Nightmares and a nervous breakdown? There's only so many traumas a person can withstand till they take to the streets and start screaming.
Allen's attempt to build a more dramatically substantial comedy on his knee-jerk, time-flipping format backfires because the jokes simply aren't funny. Woody Allen doesn't know when to quit, and that's not a good thing. I give this disappointing romantic comedy a C-.
I want you to tell me what you're doing, sat in front of me, bleeding and under arrest.
What do you know about Stephen Rowe?
Rowan Athale's debut feature is a British crime drama that wears its amateurishness on its sleeve.
It is involved in drug trafficking.
He owes me for a year.
Conceived as a deconstructionist heist movie, the overworked plot dares its audience not to laugh out loud at its noticeably artificial underpinnings. You may feel like you're holding the filmmaker's hand in an adult-child relationship. Luke Treadaway is woefully miscast as Harvey, a Yorkshire street tough fresh out of a year-long prison term for a trumped-up drug possession charge. Treadaway has a cutish, boyish demeanor that undercuts his character's potential for violent revenge that Harvey pursues against Roper, played by Neil Maskell, the scum responsible for putting him in the pokey. He's just too squishy and soft. Athale employs a cliched exposition device to house his drama. Detective Inspector West, played by Timothy Spall, questions a bruised and battered Harvey about a recent robbery at a local club. Harvey narrates the flashback action that landed him in the dark room where his fate will be determined. An Assemble the Team opening act introduces Harvey's three working-class buddies whose poor command of grammar cues the audience as to where our sympathies ought to lie. Athale withholds key plot information in order to distract from Ghost in the Machine plot revelations that arrive too late in the game. Wasteland comes off like an exercise in misdirection. Rowan Athale hasn't learned the important principle that Alfred Hitchcock faithfully honored about earning and paying off on the viewer's trust. Wasteland is a waste of time. I give this disappointing British crime drama a C-. My sleeper pick is Johnny Toe's Drug War, and my guilty pleasure pick is Wolverine. My must-have DVDs are Black Sabbath, the Mario Bava collection from Kino Classics, Wild Bill from Cinedigm, and London, the Modern Babylon from Docurama. One of the most emotionally challenging and brilliant films of all time, Elem KILMOV'S 1985 Come and See is an exemplar of late Soviet cinema that sets the standard for anti-war films. It is an undiluted expression of cinematic poetry in the service of an unbearably brutal anti-war narrative about 628 Belarusian villages burnt to the ground along with their inhabitants by German occupation forces during World War II. Absolutely essential, yet still obscure in the West, the film is a disorienting vision of a genocidal hell that challenges Hieronymus Bosch's most gruesome compositions. An electric buzzing stench of death and social decay hangs over the picture's volley between neo-realistic, formal, and documentary styles that KILMOV uses to convey as wide a range of wartime experiences as possible. The director takes the viewer on a quicksilver descent into the madness of war through the eyes of his 14-year-old peasant protagonist, Florya. Alexei Kravchenko's extraordinary performance as the film's subjective guide encapsulates a lifetime of suffering over a period of a few vicious days of the Nazi invasion. Florya tries to join a ragtag troop of Soviet partisans camped in the middle of a forest, but gets abandoned alongside a teenage girl named Glasha, who temporarily served as a lover to the resistance group's leader. A Nazi bombing raid on the forest, one of the most evocative scenes in an unforgettable film, leaves Florya with a severe case of tinnitus. KILMOV uses Florya's sensory deprivation with a twisted soundscape to bring us into Florya's agony and panic via a claustrophobic sonic space that conveys the audience's sense of being wounded. The next morning, Florya and Glasha frolic in the rain during a brief reverie where they forget the looming terror that awaits them. Over the muted sounds of sped-up radio music, Glasha does a Charleston-styled flapper dance atop Floria's rain-soaked suitcase. There's a dreamlike quality to the couple's short-lived musical respite before an outlandish stork conveys an unnerving omen of unexplained incidents to follow. Wild animal life plays an important part of the image system filigree that KILMOV uses to connect the story to its ecological foundation in the landscape of Belarus. Over the course of the film, Floria transforms from a boy into a broken old man. The effects of war rip out his soul and leave behind a hollow shell. When KILMOV sat down to write the script with his collaborator, Ales Adamovich, the intellectual director crafted an acutely personal story about a boy who goes to fight against Nazi troops occupying his native Belarusian Soviet Socialist Republic in 1943. Come and See is Elem KILMOV'S Paean to Loss. It is his attempt to cinematically compartmentalize and contextualize his wartime experiences escaping the Battle of Stalingrad in the company of his mother and younger brother across the Volga while the city burnt to the ground behind them. Thanks for watching, and visit KolesSmithy.com for more.